if you're a landlord and you're frustrated and you're feeling burnout, start out with something that has a pattern that people love. Having a business is grinding. There's always things that you don't want to do, and it's not always fun. But start out with something where you can find a pattern that people say, I love this. And after 45 years, I love the note business. Do you think I love the note business? You know I love the note business. Do you love the note business?
I love the note business.
Why? Because it doesn't burn you out.
So I'm here with Eddie Speed, who's actually been a great mentor and a friend and has helped me get to where I'm at. I know for sure I would not be where I'm at if it wasn't for getting a chance to meet this person and getting a chance to be around Note School, right? So today I want to talk about, with our community. There's a lot of people that are starting to be very interested because they're starting to feed and let them know about notes. And a lot of people are like, what? Like, we can participate in notes? This is a whole new world. All we know is fix and flipping and landlording. That's all we know. Yeah. And there's a lot of people right now struggling in this current market. And I want to talk about, several things. But before we get into, a special event that we have coming up, I want to get a chance for the people to get the chance. Who is Eddie Speed, right? I will do a quick introduction, and then I'd like for you to give them your version, right? So for those of you that may not know, Eddie Speed is probably one of the most experienced note investors and has helped thousands upon thousands of people and has done billions of dollars in the note business. And a funny story is, before I even knew who Eddie was, I actually landed in his office because I helped one of my good friends sell a note, and they bought it. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is somewhat interesting. I need to find out more about this. So,
it's funny.
Thanks for being with us, Eddie.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I think a lot of you, I'm an old cowboy, right? And I have a lot of guys that were world-class trainers, horse trainers,
right,
in the quarter horse world. And the old saying is, great horses make great trainers, meaning that the best trainer in the world can't train a horse unless the horse has great skills, right, to be a great horse, right? And so I think great students make great trainers and teachers, right? Yeah. And so I always appreciate the fact that I think you just followed what I said. Like, I'm an old guy, right? I'm 65 years old. I've been doing this. This is my 45th year in this business. Wow. So I've, as the old commercial is, I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. And I feel like at this point, I operate a lot with instincts. But those instincts have been developed by experience, right? So my instincts are different than they would have been 25 years ago, right? And I think we're in a market that is very rich for what notes and seller financing can be. And so I feel like I've been training for this party a long time, and it's kind of shown up.
Right.
But the one thing I would say, just to kind of begin the conversation, is I'm in several real estate masterminds where the biggest house buyers in the country are in it, and I hear a common theme at that mastermind: I'm burnout.
Yeah. I'm
flipping houses. I'm burnout. I'm landlording. I'm burnout.
And just so the people know, these masterminds aren't masterminds that cost $100 to join, right?
No, these are the top 500 house buyers in the country. Right. These are the top guys in the business, and they're $30,000 to $80,000 each of them a year. Right. So, but these guys are buying hundreds of houses, and so they need those platforms, and it's worth it for them to spend the money to do it. So I would say, if you're looking at this business, and if you're feeling burnout, if you're a landlord and you're frustrated and you're feeling burnout, or if you haven't done it yet, right, then I would say to you, start out with something that has a pattern that people love. Do you think I love the note business? You know I love the note business. Do you love the note business?
I love the note business.
Why? Because it doesn't burn you out.
Yeah.
Because the stresses that other businesses cause, because it's, having a business is grinding, Right. There's always things that you don't want to do, and it's not always fun. But start out with something where you can find a pattern that people say, I love this. And after 45 years, I love the note business.
Yeah. So, my short experience is, I'll tell you, obviously I started out wholesaling, right? Like a lot of folks. And then from there, I transitioned to, hey, I need to do my first fix and flip. And then from there, I need to buy rentals. And along the way, obviously, thankfully, I found notes in 2019, and we started doing notes. And my wife is not very involved in the business, but she'll tell you, she obviously is not involved, but she is in a sense of she knows everything that's going on. She hears the stories. And from the short experience, she's like, we need to focus on notes. That's what we enjoy and do the most because it allows you to really have a lifestyle, right?
Yeah. And let me say this. It serves the Hispanic community so well.
Oh, my God.
I mean, I've bought 50,000 owner finance notes. That's a crazy number, but it's a truth.
Right.
I would say literally, like, and I'm just making up a number. I don't actually know what the percentage is, but it's 80%, 75% of every note I've ever bought, the person had a Hispanic surname.
Right.
And it told me, and I've done a ton of business in the Valley, as you know. I've done a ton of business in San Antonio and Houston and Dallas, and I know how well it serves that community. And I think about crazy 50,000 notes, and that high percentage of people were of Hispanic descent. They experienced home ownership that rentals never would have given them.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, the perfect example, as you said, is some of you guys watching this video may have bought your first home through owner financing. Maybe you bought your first investment through owner financing. And there's always, the other end where people can very easily say, oh, well, these people maybe get taken advantage of. But that's not the case, right? And what I'll share is a powerful story of one of my good friends. One of my good friends bought his very first property through owner financing. And this was, 2015 maybe, 14% interest at that time. But it was on a $50,000 house. And he said, you know what? Somebody gave me the opportunity. Guess what? To this day, the gentleman owns over 100 rentals.
Yeah.
Because somebody gave him an opportunity.
Yeah.
And he's always grateful. And he tells people sometimes when, they balk at 10, 11%, they're like, that's an incredible opportunity. Nobody else is given that opportunity. And me and Joe talk about this all the time. Almost every single time we have a closing with the family, especially the male in the family, is always in tears because nobody else gave him a shot and a chance. Yeah. And they're very grateful. And like you said, they're great notes. They're hard working class that are building the communities, and they're looking for that opportunity. And like you said, they have an experience that they just would not have renting an apartment or just a home, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it's and once again, there's good seller financing, and there's seller financing that I wouldn't necessarily buy the paper because I think they didn't do it well. So we want to teach people to do the business right. To do it tight. Yeah. And good paperwork, good structure, good things. And so that's the thing, is that if you do it in the way that we would want them to do it, right? That we would want to teach them how to do it, it'll be, I had a friend that used to say it like this. He said, if you do seller financing the right way, it will be good to you a long time in the future. That's a good saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the, I think it might have been Note Expo, I heard somebody say, a well underwritten note, is halfway collected. I'm like, that's a good one. That's true, Yeah. And I mean, the funny thing is that you have so much more experience than I do, and I'm just, starting to dip my toe in the water kind of as I start having these conversations with people that just didn't know how to do it, and they just said, just do owner financing, but nobody ever showed them the proper way of doing it, right? So I had a conversation just a few days ago with actually a note seller, and the note paperwork wasn't great, right? And the second thing is he self-serviced the note. Let's talk about that for a second. Or, what are some of the pitfalls you see time and time again of people self-servicing and not using a third-party note servicer?
Well, I mean, in my first 25 years in the business, we self-serviced all our own notes, right?
Right.
And it's not that somebody can't do it.
Correct.
Somebody can't do it unless they learn how to do it, right? You don't wake up and in the bed one morning and go, I know what I'm required to do as a loan servicer.
Right.
In the state of Texas, you are required to post a bond and register as a servicer. You don't have to be licensed, but you have to register. And otherwise, you're not compliant. How many people know that?
Probably every single person watching that is learning that for the first
So
time.
understand that, but I would say, in escrow accounts,
Right.
If you're collecting taxes and insurance,
That's exactly
that's
what happened.
not your money.
That's exactly what happened with this note. The note was written, taxes and insurance was going to be collected, and of course, most people don't even know how to do an escrow analysis every year.
Or they don't know they have to keep the money in a separate account.
Correct. Yeah, it has to be in a separate account. It can't be touched. And yeah, I mean, it was probably going into their same personal or business account. So a few years down the road, he told the borrower, you know what? Just go ahead and take care of the insurance and property taxes. So I'm sitting there looking at the note, and I was like, do you know this guy owes $20,000 in back taxes?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
So the point being that self-servicing I don't self-service anymore because we run a scalable business.
Right.
And I in fact, you and I use the same servicer, right? And so, and so I outsource it because I think that they're running a business that I don't have to go run.
Right.
Right. I don't work on my own truck either. Now that may not fit some of your people in your audience. They're like, why wouldn't you do that? I suck at fixing stuff. I can fix a deal, but I suck at fixing my own truck, right? So that for those reasons, right? But the answer is, here's what I believe, Homero, is a truth, and that is, there's nothing hard that we do, but there are procedures that you learn that without learning them, the learning curve is too painful. So learn the procedures so you don't have to go through the painful learning curve. You'll eventually learn it.
Right.
But why not? Education is simply just a way of compressing time.
Yeah.
Right? When you're talking to a teenager now and you're telling them something and you know that they're going to figure it out.
Right.
But it's which way they're going to figure it out. They're going to figure it out by listening to you, or they're going to figure it out by making mistakes and going way around the block, right? Well, all of us were there one time and we can kind of laugh and relate to that. And so I think that the biggest thing about notes, I would say, is compared to landlording, is time. Most people want their time back.
Right.
And I make a statement, I think it's true. I say that you can own 1,000 notes for the same workload of owning 55 rentals.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, there's just so many unexpected things. I mean, I posted about, I don't know if you saw, I made a post just this week. It happened to me. I mean, I still have rentals, right? And these are just surprises. So, I sent a message to one of my tenants because I saw that she hadn't made her payment. Hey, just checking in, seeing how things are going. And her reply was, not good. I moved out last night. Keys are in the lockbox. And I'm just like, okay, well, now I got to go walk the property, make sure there's no crazy damage. And just that all takes a lot of time, right? And, people watching this, if you own a rental property, you're probably laughing because, you're spending a lot more time than you like. And you started the business because you wanted some freedom, probably.
That's it.
Right? And the reason I started in the note business and started building upon, acquiring, originating notes is because we wanted a lot more freedom. That, just like you said, it's a lot easier to manage. You still have to manage those notes. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's a lot less work.
Way less work.
Yeah.
And if you do the right things and you seller finance under a structure and under a discipline, in other words, you can seller finance a property and do things wrong, and it's not going to relieve your stress.
Right.
You can seller finance a note and do things right, and it's going to relieve most of your stress. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, and I mean, as you were talking about, Eddie, I think you hit the nail right on the head. As you were talking about earlier, you're having conversations in these masterminds. I'm having conversations with just mom and pop people just doing the business, doing a couple flips, buying a couple of rentals. A lot of people are burnt out. And not only are they burnt out, they're losing money.
Well, let me do the rental challenge.
Yeah.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
I'm going to do the rental challenge. Take your current rental portfolio take the current fair market value of what it's worth, not what you paid for it,
Right.
what it's worth today.
Right.
Then take your net operating income, and don't do it at the end of the month because that's probably not a real number. Do it average like over 3 years, like
Right.
what your real net is, right? And then figure your cap rate. So here's some fairly easy math. The house is worth $200,000. I'm netting $8,000 a year, net operating income.
Right.
I'm earning a 4 cap.
Wow.
And most people, when I do that challenge, most people go like, that's my math. And I'm like, I already knew that.
Yeah.
Right? So landlords didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
What happened was inflation.
Right.
Your house doubled in value.
Right.
Great.
Right.
Right? Now that's probably not going to happen again right now, right? Because we're pretty much perceived that we're in a pretty flat market.
Right.
Right? And this is what Wall Street is betting. Like we're going to see pretty much a flat market, right? It's just a market condition. So the appreciation is not kind to us at the moment, although it was really kind to us. But what wasn't kind to us, along with that inflation of your house going up, was expenses. So expenses went up about 60%. The problem is that rents didn't rise to match expenses. And the reason that's true is because we hit a ceiling on affordability.
Yeah.
So rents went up, and then they've kind of settled back down. We're about 20% higher in rents, right? Now, somebody may have some story of some property, and that may not be true. That may not be true, but nationally, what I'm saying is certainly true.
Right.
Right? And Dallas fits inside the national numbers pretty well, right? So about 20% increase in rents, but 60% increase in expenses.
Costs, yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, you've got bad math.
Yeah.
And so what we've entered is, we've entered a note cycle. It's more profitable to be the bank right now than the landlord.
100%. I mean, I know we've done it over the last couple of years. Sometimes some of the rentals go vacant, and instead of renting them out again, we decide to owner finance it. And instead of netting, $300 a month, we're netting $1,000 a month, right? Pretty simple math.
I can tell you without needing to pull out a calculator, and I'd test 20 to 50 assets a week, right? So pretty regularly we run this model, right? 2.5 to 3 times the net income. 2.5 to 3 times. So if you're netting $1,000, net, $1,000 rent on your house, you can owner finance the same house for $2,500 to $3,000 a month. And you say you're not getting the appreciation. I say you're getting it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there's sort of a cult out there that they love their rentals and God loved them. And listen, we don't need to change the world.
Right.
But I will tell you this, Homero, there's 17 million rent houses owned by small investors. That's what the stats are. 17 million houses. What if we could change the life of a few 100,000 people?
Yeah.
Right? So if you're thinking like, wait a minute, way less work, way more income, maybe that seller financing is a thing. And then that's where I think you and I look at it and think we can really help them with like how to do it.
Right.
Like, let's just say, don't call your brother-in-law and ask him.
Right.
Right? Don't do that. Like, call guys that know the formula, so that then you can take the note and you can sell part of the payments, or you can keep them, or all these things that you can do if you create the right kind of paper. Don't do seller financing what we would say homemade.
Right.
And there's a structure that we can really be helpful to helping somebody accomplish in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that, I talk about it a lot in the Latin community is, we make a lot of mistakes. One of those mistakes is, hey, who's going to do your taxes this year? Oh, you got to go to your uncle. Your uncle, yeah, he does taxes? I thought he had a full-time done. No, he does taxes seasonal right there at the gas station. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to seek professionals, and that's exactly what you're saying is if you want to do this business the right way and you want to paper, the notes similar to the way that a bank would structure it, which is exactly what you teach and what I've learned. Those notes all of a sudden become significantly more valuable.
Crazy more valuable.
And now you can do a whole lot more than just, I just need to sell my note at a huge discount.
Well, we can, with that type of loan, we can show people various techniques of how to go get their money back out of the deal and keep income long term, and all these things become a possibility.
Right.
Right. So we don't want to make it. I don't want to make it sound complicated, but you start out with. Let me just say this: the first thing the best steakhouse in town does is start out with a good steak.
Yeah.
Right. A good piece of meat. Right. And so, an old country expression, right? You've heard this: you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Right? Yeah. You've heard that old expression?
Yeah.
So it's kind of that. Like, start out with good ingredients, which we could help people with.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, we can show them all kind of cool things that could happen with a note down the road where, in the end of the day, I'll bet you'll be happy with less stress, and you get a lot of your time back and more income.
Yeah. One thing that, in my short experience, based on conversations with other real estate investors, I hear it often, as you said, I'm burnt out, I don't want to do rentals anymore. But I've yet to hear somebody learn the note business the right way and say, man, I don't like the note business.
It's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. So I want to transition into, there's people probably watching and say, hey, you know what, man, there's a lot of information that I'd like to learn. Where can I learn more? What are some resources? And I want to talk about a huge event that we have coming up here in the next few days. So as you're watching this recording, number one, you can access this event. It's going to be live. It's going to be held next week, right? And there's also going to be a recording, so you can access this recording, right?
Yeah, if you already got something, if you already have a dentist appointment, right? That's okay. It's going to be totally recorded. In fact, to be honest with you, I've got something going that day, although I'm teaching, and I've got to stop and go teach my session. But then I've got something else going that day, so I need to listen to the recording as well.
Right.
So I think that's a good strategy. Is that while it's short notice, people say, "Oh, I'm not sure." And first of all, here's a great thing. You and I don't personally benefit from selling this class, do we?
No.
All the money is going to our industry lobby effort for seller financing. That helps us continue to work with the lawmakers and change laws that are good for the industry.
Right.
So we just have figured out if we have a really valuable class and people get great information, then they're like, hey, and it's really cheap, right? Then all of a sudden, hey, how can you go wrong? Next thing is, then all of a sudden, then we raise money for our industry, and people got great value from it. And that's what you and I consider to be a win-win.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really understand, what exactly all that means in a sense of, there's people that are wanting to shut down. Owner financing, how is that even possible, right? So
we have to have a lobby.
Right.
We have to have people represent us.
Right.
Or otherwise, this is an old saying about, not having, a seat at the table with lawmakers.
Right.
They say you either have a seat at the table or you're on the menu.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So as we were talking about it, right? I mean, we've been able to impact so many lives by being able to offer owner financing, and thousands of good, hardworking families have been able to buy a home because somebody provided seller financing. So we want to make sure that we have a lobby that allows us to keep doing business the right way, right? We're all for some sort of regulation. There has to be some sort of regulation, right?
We have a big thing on the menu this year. I mean, we have a really big thing. We've been lobbying for this for about 10 years. But we really believe it'll happen this year, and that is we're going to change Dodd-Frank related to seller financing, which is a huge deal.
Yeah. And I mean, just so you guys know, the panel is incredibly experienced. Number one, you want to find out about servicing. How do you find a good servicer? What are some of the things that note servicer is going to do on your behalf? Right? We have Sohail with Provident Loan Servicing. He's going to be speaking
and talking about hiring an RMLO.
Yeah.
And what they should do. Some people hire this originator to help them originate these loans, but what if the originator doesn't do it right?
Right.
Right? It's kind of like you hire a contractor, a plumber to fix your house. Well, what if he didn't do the plumbing right?
Right.
Well, he's got a license. Okay, well, that still didn't mean he did the plumbing right.
Yeah.
So we're going to give you a lot of instruction all day. We've selected what we think are kind of the industry's best of best. They've all donated their time, just like you and I have.
Right.
And they're just going to pour it out all day.
Yeah.
And for, what is it, $147?
Yeah, I think it's
$150 to go have a one-day class with that many experts?
Attorneys. I mean, Jeff Watson. I mean, I just got back recently from Florida and I went to an event.
Yeah.
That event was over $1,000 to go to that event, and you're going to have somebody speak for over an hour, talk about things that'll help you structure things properly. So we're asking, instead of asking for a donation, we're going to give you a value of thousands of dollars for $147. You're going to be able to, number one, support the lobbying efforts, and number two, get incredible, valuable, life-changing information. And we're excited to see you on that.
One of the things that we've done is we've invited people that sell different kinds of property.
Right.
Because people seller finance land,
Right.
people seller finance mobile home and land like you,
Right.
and do houses, and then people sell mobile home only.
Mobile home only.
Right? And then people sell people say, well, how if I had a note and I wanted to go use it like a rent house and just go borrow money against my note, is there a way to do it? There's a guy that does over 300 notes a year, Mike Powell, and he borrows money from the bank, and he's going to show you how he does that, right? So we're trying to answer questions all day that people ask us frequently to go make themselves better informed, to make the best decisions for themselves. And the money goes to an incredibly valuable cause that I've supported financially, and you have I've supported for a really long time.
Right.
And we need it. We have to have it. If we don't keep a lobby effort for us, there'll be laws that get passed that we don't want, or
Right.
changes made that we don't want to happen. It's not good for our business.
Right.
But more than anything else, we want to be go-givers for our industry to help people learn best practices of how to do this business so that you love it like we do.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is that, if you just don't know how to do things properly, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you're going to maybe even hate the business because you're making fundamental mistakes that could have been avoided had you learned how to do the business the right way. So that's what we're for. So if you're watching this video, there's on the screen, there's the QR code so you can scan and register. We're also going to put a link at the end of the video. So I'm going to be speaking there as well. Eddie's going to be speaking, and there's just a ton of incredible knowledge that you guys are going to be able to learn how to do this business the right way. So we're excited about that, and I know it's been going on for several years. It's just a very impactful, like I
said, it's a big year.
Right.
Like the stars have kind of aligned.
Yeah.
Where we think this is the year that in Washington D.C. at the
Right.
national level, that we're going to be in a position to get this law changed, and we're not being overly optimistic. We think we've talked to the right people that are going to be able to help us make this happen, and it's because of our lobby effort that gave us the seat at the table to do it.
Right.
Vicente Gonzalez is a wonderderful guy that's a congressman from South Texas.
Yep.
And he's actually spoke at Note Expo, as you remember, and he's in a heavy Hispanic community,
right?
And he's a good guy and a good industry guy that helps our industry. I mean, he's a lawmaker and a congressman, a United States congressman, but he helps our industry, and it's people like him that keep pushing us forward. And that lobby effort is how we got connected with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll give you guys all the information so you guys can register for that. But Eddie, what would you say? Let's talk about the current market, right? There's a lot of things going on right now that are, currently different than what they've been in the past.
Yep.
Right? We're seeing, I'm a real estate agent, and obviously I'm seeing on the market, right? I'm seeing houses staying on the market longer.
Yep.
We're seeing new construction, and supposedly there wasn't enough new homes, but we're seeing new constructions homes stay on the market. There's crazy incentives.
Home builders have more inventory now than they've had since 2009, if you counted vacant lots all the way to finished homes. So the big home builders, Lennar and D.R. Horton and those guys, if you do your research, you're going to find out they are sitting on a crazy amount of inventory of unsold houses. So the thing about it is seller financing fills the gap conventional lending doesn't fill, right? And that's why I go back to how I feel about how it's been so helpful for the Hispanic community, right? Because, listen, I'm self-employed. I own 9 different companies.
Yeah.
Go take me and try to go run my stuff through a Fannie Mae lender. I'm telling you right now, they blow their mind.
Right.
Like, you know, so these type of strategies in a tight credit market, and we are in a crazy tight credit market. These are strategies that provide the ability for somebody to do something just because the perfect mortgage company says that you don't qualify doesn't mean that you can't pay or you won't pay. It doesn't mean that. And so we're very excited about how we see it filling the gap. I do believe that it's more profitable to own a note right now than own a rental. If that's something that you have a hard time embracing, okay, we can still be friends. But I tell you what, at least think about some of the math we've mentioned. And think about that and say, is there really something to that?
Right.
Because that's what, when I'm at these big masterminds with these hot shot house buyers, I've got them scratching their head.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the exact same, scenario that recently I did a video with some friends where, they said, hey, we have this rental property. We're trying to figure out, does it make sense to keep it as a rental? Does it make sense to owner finance it? Does it make sense to just fix it up a little bit and retail it? What do the numbers look like? Let's break it down. I mean, their mind was blown. The fact that they can make significantly more owner financing it, I mean, they're just like a no-brainer. So guess what they're doing? They're putting up some signs and owner financing it.
2.5 to 3 times
Yeah.
is about the math I see in the market today. 2.5 to 3 times more income than you're netting, not grossing on a rental, but you're netting on a rental.
Which is what we care about. I mean, I know a lot of real estate investors and people in general, it's exciting to put up those big gross numbers of what comes in. No, what actually are you netting?
Statistics say last year that since the virus, that insurance has increased 55%.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy.
And property taxes. I mean, when you have an investment, there's no cap, right? So.
And I guess your repair guy charges less than he used to, right?
Yeah, I mean, everything has just gone up. So.
Inflation fighter.
Right.
Consider seller financing. How about that?
Yeah.
And go learn something about seller financing. Go to this class. There's more that we can help you with, but this is a great class that is going to have a wide variety of industry experts. And yeah.
Awesome. So Eddie, what else do you have going on? Do you have any 3-day events? Where can people learn more about, Note School or, what you offer?
We do. We have some classes coming up in March and April, and we've gotten our class down to 2 days now. We just figured out what we were maybe over teaching a little bit, and we figured out how to make it real concise but not lose what we think is the value of the content. Just less time to do it. And so we've done that, and it's, it's pretty common. People come there with these same issues that we've been discussing today. And we do a pretty good job of whiteboarding it out, laying out the math, working through actual case studies to kind of show people, I guess it's true. Of course, I've been doing this a long time now. We don't know what we don't know. I have somebody teach me something on a regular basis that I just didn't have any idea about until they taught me. And I think, I just didn't know it existed. And I think note strategies and what you can do with notes, a lot of people would say after they learn, they're like, I just didn't know. I think that's where you were.
So as we wrap this up, Eddie, what are some last thoughts that you'd like to share with people that are out there and trying to figure out, they got a fork in the road, trying to figure things out, probably like I was. What do I do? I mean, do I want to keep being a landlord? Do I want to keep doing fix and flips?
I would just say, position yourself where you know how to stress test it. Stress test the math. Yeah. Are you doing the best thing that you can do with your property? These aren't difficult formulas.
Right.
We're going to be very good at helping people figure that out.
Right.
And just stress test it. At least you're thinking like, okay, if I seller financed it, it could be producing this. If I rent it, it can be producing this. And there's some fairly easy things that we can help people run some numbers on and run tests, and then they know.
Right.
Right? I'll bet you the more people that stress test their rentals, the more people considering doing something else with their rentals.
Yeah. And, there's going to be a different opportunity depending on where you're at, right? You may be somebody that maybe you don't own any rentals, but you were thinking about owning rentals, and now you actually look at the numbers, and you may just want to buy a note, right?
I started in the note business. I didn't start out in rental property. I didn't start out buying houses.
Right.
I literally started out buying notes. And I never will forget, my father-in-law was sitting down there. He became my father-in-law, right? Martha and I have been married 42 years now, but he taught me the business. And I was just young. I didn't have any money, and I was kind of struggling, and I was like, his name was Mr. Shoemake. I said, Mr. Shoemake, this sounds great, this buying notes. The problem is I don't have any money. And he looked at me and kind of gave me kind of a funny look, and he says, you learn how to buy notes with other people's money.
Right.
And I'm like, so guess what note school teaches a lot of people now?
Right.
Like we teach people to buy notes with other people's money.
Yeah.
Because that's what you learn to do and making this work. And that's kind of that's a different side of seller financing your rentals, but it also can mean like that's how I can go then get money back out of my note, a lump sum of money back out of my note, so I can then go do the next deal and go do the next deal, and I can, rinse and repeat. So there's lots of things that are going to be, you're going to see as possibilities in this business that maybe you didn't think of before, and that's why we've done all this. We've done it because we've realized how happy people are when they realize what they could do.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Eddie. I mean, I appreciate you spending time. I mean, I know you're extremely busy with all the different ventures you have going on, and just to share, 45 minutes or so with the community. I mean, I know they're going to be grateful, and they're probably going to be reaching out. So I'll make sure to put Note School's information and where they can go to possibly register for that next class.
Awesome.
And for those of you that want to register for, the Seller Finance Coalition event that we got coming up, we'll make sure to put that in the video. And we'll see you on that. So where can people follow you? And if they want to.
Yeah. So our website is noteschool.com.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Noteschool.com. Perfect.